Testing, 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 testing. Testing, 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 testing. Testing, 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 testing. All right, testing, 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 testing.
Hi, Demetrius. Hi, how are you?
Hello, hello. How are you?
Very good, very good. Can you hear me well?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Ah, yes, yes. Perfect.
Alejandro?
Yes, yes. Jandro, perfect.
Alejandro. Say Alejandro. Alejandro. And last name, how you pronounce it?
So, and my last name is Cisneros. So, it's Jandro Cisneros. And you can see it there.
Alejandro Cisneros.
I can type it in the chat. Let me do it right now. Jandro Cisneros. There you
All right. Got it.
go.
All righty. So, any questions before we get started?
Yeah, maybe like how are you planning to follow the podcast? Like, what is the what is the like your normal workflow? What is your ideal the type of questions you're going to be asking and that kind of stuff?
Okay. So, so this podcast is truly about you, your
Okay.
your experiences,
Mm-hmm.
and so it's really designed for you to share with the audience the experiences that you have gone through,
Okay.
help to make you the man that you are today.
Okay.
And so you share whatever you choose to share.
Okay.
But as you start to share, I'm going to be taking notes, and if there's any questions that I want to ask,
Mm-hmm.
it's going to be tied to whatever you share.
Absolutely.
That's the
And are you planning to have only like a podcast, or are you planning to upload the video to the social channels, the interview?
As of right now, I'm doing just a podcast, but I
Okay.
do have intentions on uploading them to videos and to YouTube because I haven't created my YouTube channel to be able to do that just far.
Okay. Okay.
But the content will be used for video to supplement that as well.
Oh, that makes sense.
But
That sounds amazing. Yeah.
we're going to start with the podcast because that's actually right now. This recording won't air to mid-April because I have them booked already up to August. I'm sorry, August.
Okay.
Um, so I'm booked already. All my shows are already booked till like August the 17th, I think it is.
Ah, wow.
So yours going to come in the week after that. So it's going to be coming like that last week of August.
Okay.
You will get the actual raw, tape so that you can share
Mm-hmm.
probably about 2 weeks prior to, uh,
Perfect.
just so that you can market and simultaneously with us as we market for it.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so it usually take my production team about a week to 2 weeks to edit and chop it down the way that they want. So that's about it. Like literally, it's designed to be organic. It's designed to really talk about life, the challenges or the things that we experience to make us who we are, and hopefully that your experience will be able to help somebody else, conquer something that you've already been through. And as within that last 5 to 10 minutes, I'm going to ask you to give the audience your final thoughts. And that's just one last tidbit that you want to share with them. Market, promotion, and even anything that you want to share and advertise you as you share throughout your testimony or your experience. You feel free because this is about you.
Perfect.
You got music coming out. You got all things that you're working on. This is all about you and your shameless plugs. Whatever you need to really get that out there. As you know, this is going to be on every social media. It's on iHeart. It's on iHeartRadio. It's on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts. Just every place. So, you is all the publicity is good.
Um, Amazing. Sounds amazing.
Publicity is good. So that's about it, man. It's going to be a conversation, nothing strenuous. It's just literally talking about you. If you can't talk about yourself, then who else can?
Exactly, exactly. No, and that's perfect. This is perfect. That's what I love to do the most, I think.
uh,
Um, yeah, perfect. So I think you answered all my questions, and happy to start the interview, or happy to start the way you love to start things. So I'm here for you.
all right, let's get it started. Janero.
Yeah.
It's okay. I have to make sure. I was like, make sure I said it right. All right, let's get it started. Life Journey Podcast is sponsored by Akili Flow. Akili Flow is a culturally centered coaching organization that uses meditation and comedic yoga to help you balance your work and your life. Set up an appointment with them today. Visit www.akiliflow.com. That's AKILIFLOW.com and book your free session. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Thank you for joining us today. I'm your host, Demetrius Iyer, and this is Life Journey Podcast, one of the few podcasts that use the experience of our guests to help and shape them to be the individuals they are today. They use their experience to help you live a fulfilled and healthy life based off of their experiences. Today we have Jandro Sierras, and he's going to share some of the things that have made him the man that he is and has become. So, sir, thank you for joining Life Journey Podcast. And as I alluded to, this podcast was birthed out of the foundation that we all have a story. We all have experiences that we go through that help us to be the individuals that we become. And it's my belief that if we share these stories, it may help somebody. It can change a life. Our logo and our slogan is that share your story, save a life. And I truly believe that in our culture, we don't share enough of our experiences because sometimes it's things that you have gone through that may be beneficial to somebody else. And so that's the foundation for this podcast. I've heard tremendous stories, man, and I know you have one. One thing about this world is a universal truth that you're going to have to live it. So there's going to be some trials that you're going to go through, some things that you're going to conquer that can help other people. So thank you for spending the time to share with our guests today.
Thank you so much, Demetrius, for your amazing interview and for the introduction. And I know my name is complicated because it comes from the Spanish world. So the way you pronounce it is so. Actually, my name is Alejandro, but my nickname or my artistic name is Jandro Cisneros. And let me tell you that for me, it's very important to was, as you mentioned, share your story, save a life, and to go in that direction. Because actually today I'm celebrating 1 week that I release music single that is called "Confío en ti, Señor." It's in Spanish, but I just to tell you that translation means "I trust in you, Lord." And the reason why I'm saying that is because I consider myself a Christian and social artist. And to define a little bit about what is a social artist, so basically, a social artist are people who use creative skills to work with people or organizations in their community to affect change. While a traditional artist uses their creative skills to express their take on the world, a social artist puts their skills to use to help promote and improve communities and social living. So that's basically a definition of the type of artist that I do, that I am. Sorry, and I also use original music composition, production, video, filmmaking, and public speaking conferences to impact people's lives. And that's basically what I do as an artist. And I will recommend everyone to hear that song "Confío en ti, Señor" or "I Trust in You, Lord," because nowadays under this pandemic, under this situation, under a daily stress, all this stress that we have, I think it's important to have that hope and that trust to whatever you believe. In my case, is God. So it's just to believe in the universe. If you believe in something, just it's good to keep that into your in like something that uplifts your spirit, and you need that. And happy to be here and happy to talk with your audience.
Man, uh, powerful, powerful. I already know this is going to be a powerful interview. Anytime I get chills on my arms when a guest is talking to me, that tells me the spirit was with them. Thank you very much for sharing. And to be a social artist uh,
Yeah.
in this world and this time has given you a lot to talk about.
Exactly. Exactly. It's
Like you
yeah.
have, I can only imagine the depth of the music because we have a lot to talk about and share. So, what led you down this road?
Yeah, so that's a fantastic question. So actually, the reality is that I was a big my family my mother was a victim of domestic violence, and I was a child in conjunction with my sister, twin sister that I have. We were witnessing all that violence at very early age. So let's say from 0 to 6, I was under that domestic life violence on a daily basis. Unfortunately, I saw a lot of violence going on, and I saw your loved ones hating each other, and almost killing each other. So that led to a series of traumatic experiences and issues in my development, like in psychological, emotional development. And what happens in the world is that, and something I didn't know, is that domestic violence in the black communities, Hispanic, Asian, immigration, like immigrants, refugees, LGBTQ communities, and all these minorities is very common. And what I didn't know is that Mexico is one of the most, let's say, one of the most dangerous places for women to live. So 66.1% of all women age 15 and older have experienced some kind of violence in their lives. And I didn't know that. And of course, when you are a child, when you are in your toddler years, when you are developing, for example, something I didn't know is that between 14 months and, let's say, almost 3 years old, that's your toddler era, and that's where you develop a very important function for emotion for humanity, and that's where you learn how to help and how to collaborate with other humans. And that collaboration is what builds, let's say, societies. That's why we are here. That's why we exist as humans, because we develop that in a very, very deep level. And there's studies that actually track even chimpanzees trying to analyze that type of behavior, and they still have that behavior. So it's very in our genes. It's in us, that behavior of collaborating and helping and helping other people. So I didn't develop that really well, because when you are under a domestic violence community household, what happens is that all those concepts, all those important years of formation as a human, emotionally, psychologically, in every aspect, get basically harmed. And a miracle that happened in my life is that my mother, it takes courage to face a bully, and my mother got that courage to face my father, and it was a very traumatic experience in many ways. But what woke me up is that at the age of 6, I was in court testifying against my father for domestic violence. So he lost his custody, and that was a blessing for all of us in many ways. So we were basically, my mother became father and mother at the same time. And seeing like a mother, a woman, surviving and pushing and not giving up, and not only that, succeeding in her career. So basically, she was a medical student when we were born, and she still was a student. She was not even yet a professional, and she didn't give up. And even though she was being punched every single day and stuff like that, she decided to give us a better life. And she worked very hard to develop a career in the as a doctor, and she ended up getting scholarships in Japan. She's a gastroenterologist, and then she did another specialization in Japan as an endoscopist, and then another one in Barcelona, Spain, as a liver for liver transplantation as an hepatologist. And she was the first Mexican that brought the artificial liver that she was able to help to develop. It's called the Mars, to America, to this continent. And now she's the president of the Liver Association, the National Liver Association in Mexico. And and all of that, like just to see one human being against everything, in a Mexican world where everything was is controlled by machismo, as you know, where it's very common to abuse women, very common in the way you speak, in the way you, in every aspect, against all of that, against her own family, that they were not like, they were not, sometimes they were helping her, but at the same time they were scared about the whole divorce. She was the first one in her family getting the divorce, and then against a community in the medical world that it was controlled by men, like everything against her, and still she made it happen. And when she noticed that I was not developing correctly mentally, I was basically replicating that violence in the school. As you see, I was very violent in my school. Let's say I was fighting almost every day, and I was so angry with life that the kids couldn't match that anger, so I was always winning all those fights. So I felt, even every battle, I was feeling even more strong. I feeling like, I'm indestructible, like I'm like a big deal here. So I was basically very aggressive in the kid. And one day she got a dream, and she was in the dream, she saw a police, and she saw, that image of George Floyd when they are like putting the handcuff, and he's like asking for help, and something like, I visualized it in that way. So she said that she saw something like that, and I was not a kid anymore, I was an adult, and I was asking for help, but I was going to prison. So she knew that behavior, and because we believe in God, she knew there was a message from God telling her that she needed to do something, that I was going in the wrong direction. So I was 10 years old, and she immediately that next day called a psychiatrist, a friend of hers, and she said, like, my son needs help. We need help. I can't deal with this. I'm working all day long, and he needs help. So that's when I started my journey in psychoanalysis, and my sister too. But the difference is that I basically, when I was there, the psychiatrist asked me, Alejandro, you are 10 years old. I know it's very challenging to be in front of a doctor right now. I'm not going to give you any medication, but I want to ask you one question. Have you and I want to give you the option of staying here or leaving. Like, this is not a mandatory thing. So I want to ask you one question. Do you want to improve? Do you want to be better? Do you want to become the best version of yourself you can possibly be? And my first response was yes. And he told me, okay, but the moment you're saying yes, that means that you have to accept the responsibility of your own actions, of your own thoughts, of your emotions. Like, are you aware that you're responsible of everything that is going on in your life? And it's like, I was 10 years old, of course. He was like, and he said, yes, I know I'm wrong. I don't want to, I don't have friends. I'm just fighting them. I want to have friends. I want to have people that loves me. I want to change. And I was 10 years old, and my journey started from the age 10 to 25. I was 15 years in psychotherapy. And I know in this society, people, there's this stigma or this idea of going to psychiatrists as you're being a crazy human being, and people don't want to even say that. Like, no, I'm not crazy. I don't go to a doctor, like to a psychiatrist. That's just for crazy people. But actually, to your audience, I can say that's a lie. Like, I would recommend every human being to have, at some level in their lives, at some point, some psychological support, some help, through, like, could be through meditation or could be through stuff like that. But to having a psychoanalyst training you, helping you read your own thoughts, that's key for success. And actually, Buddha was, for me, one of the first psychologists. He developed the psychoanalysis in so many ways, and so I'm a big follower of psychoanalysis. And I promised myself, when I was basically 25, I said, I'm going to dedicate my life to improve social living. I know I'm the 0.1% of those kids that were able to get help and that were able to succeed. And I'm also one of the 0.101 kids that was able to see a mother alone succeed against everything and succeed in the highest level, in international level. So I basically put my skills into place, and I said, I want to become the best version of me and become the best I could be in anything I do, or whatever I want to do. So I decided to focus my life in the filmmaking, photography, music composition, art engineering, production, and performance. So I studied also classical guitar in the Conservatory of Mexico, and it was in Barcelona, Spain, when this professor saw a lot of talent, like musical talent in me, and he told me, "Hey, Alejandro, how serious do you want to go with music?" I was 15 years old, and I told him, I want to go in the I want to study in the best school in the world. Just tell me which, like, you just tell me the name of that school, and I want to study there. And I was just so convinced. And he didn't say Juilliard. He said Berklee College of Music. And that stayed with me. Like, he said, but that's just for very, very talented people. Like, I know you're talented, but just like calm down. Like, he was telling me, like, and you need a lot of money and that kind of stuff. Like, that's impossible, he told me. But I didn't care. I got that in my head, Berklee College of Music in Boston. And immediately God show up. Like, of course, God has it's been always since age 6 with me. But that time is when I tested my faith with God, and I said, God, if you want me to go there, if you place that fire in my heart, make that happen. And in exchange, I want to behave accordingly to that dream. Meaning, I want to train myself. I'm not going to say anything to anybody. I'm not going to tell anyone that I have this dream. It's just going to be. I didn't say anything to my mother, to girlfriends, anyone. I was the only one with this idea, and I said, but I want to modify my life. To every action that I do is going to basically help me prepare for that dream. So what I did is that I enroll I went to high school, and then in the university I enroll into filmmaking. I studied mass communication in a very good university, Tec de Monterrey, and I was very blessed by being exposed to radio. I worked in radio for 8 years. I work in television as well, and then I started composing music for films and for commercials in AMC, in the AMC version of Mexico that is called Cinepolis, that is huge. And then I also started modifying my decisions and said, you know what? I know people is partying right now. They are in their 20s. They're partying. They're having, they're having they're developing their life, their social life, but that's not in direction of the dream that I promised to God. So let's do something else. What about enrolling also in the music conservatory? And people told me, you're insane. Like, you're going to enroll in two different universities at the same time. That's like impossible. And I said, I think it's possible. So I made it happen. In the morning, I was going to one university that was in the south of my city, and at 3 p.m. I was driving all the way back to the north of the city and going to the music conservatory. And I did that for like 6-7 years, and eventually 10 years after that dream, I'm sitting down in Berklee College of Music, and I graduated in 2014. And one of my dreams was to one of my favorite guitarists in that time was Jimmy Page, and from Led Zeppelin. And the most amazing thing is that the day of my graduation, he gave me my diploma. Jimmy Page gave me the diploma. So it's when my faith really was basically like, it was no question that when you want to follow God, like when you make that commitment with God never ever going to fail you. And that's when I realized I have to dedicate my life to trust God, to follow his path and help other people, and help women that goes and live under domestic violence, and help kids. And that's my goal in life, basically, to help kids and women that are suffering from domestic violence, to give them a better life, a better option. And I still don't know exactly how it looks like, that help. I'm doing it through music and videos and conferences, but I don't know. Maybe in the future I can build a foundation, a nonprofit or something. I don't know. But I'm trying to give back, because I was fortunate and I was blessed and I was chosen in many ways, and be blessed that I was, to have a mother that is so amazing, and that was able to save my life. And that's why I want to give back. And that's my definition of why I consider myself a Christian social artist.
Man, there's a lot there to unpack. Um, but a couple things I would like to speak on. Um, what I heard was God will never fail you. What I heard is that when you make a commitment to God, God will always come through.
Mm-hmm.
What I heard was self-discipline
Yeah.
needed.
Yeah.
See the
Amen.
manifestation of what God can do in your life.
Mm-hmm.
What I heard is that it doesn't matter where you start.
Exactly.
It doesn't
Exactly.
matter where you start. What I
Mm-hmm.
heard is that God is in everything that we do. And if we only take the time to really tap in, I heard
Exactly.
about having, focus, accountability. I heard about having help to someone to help you to see what,
Yeah.
and position your thoughts and get you focused.
Yeah.
So it was a lot, that you shared just now, and I know my listeners are amazed to hear that story in your life and some of the things that you've been able to accomplish. That but not only you, your mom,
Yeah.
you know,
Exactly.
that in itself, you know, um, is powerful. A lot of time, especially in like you said, minorities and black and brown communities, we don't like to talk about mental health. We don't like to
Exactly.
abuse. Um,
Exactly.
we don't want to talk about those types of things. We don't want to talk about alcoholism, drugs. We don't
Exactly.
want to talk about none of that stuff. We just want to put our head in the sand and act like,
Exactly. Exactly.
don't talk about
Exactly.
it. Don't take it out of our house. Whatever's going on in the house, stay in the house. And the sad part to that is that the healing only takes place when you open your mouth. you know,
Exactly.
that's when God shows up, man, because He wants credit. He wants to show the world what He can do. If you just tell somebody,
Yeah.
you know.
And for example, right now that we're in the era of the Olympics, there's this amazing American athlete, Shakari Richardson.
Mhm.
She was the fastest in 100 meters sprint, like running, like she was basically the number one candidate to get that gold medal in Tokyo. And unfortunately, she tested positive for marijuana today. So automatically she got basically punished and all her record got canceled today, and she's not going to Tokyo. Like probably maybe she can make it, maybe, and this is a possibility. She got punished for 1 month, so maybe she's going to make it to the last round of one of the four of like 4 times 100 competitions or something like that. And when I was reading her biography, she was saying that like she was also raised in a broken family. She was raised by her grandmother, and her mother, I don't know if she was present in her life, and her biological mother. And she said that the day she realized that her biological mother was dead was through an interview. And that process was so, she's just 21 years old. It just, she's super fast. But at the same time, she, like it's what you mentioned, they don't talk about mental health, that she got so nervous about that, to hear from a news reporter that her biological mother was dead was like a shocking thing for her, that she started smoking marijuana. And she knew that that was against the rules of the Olympic committee. And she basically ruined the most important opportunity in her career because of lack of support in that mental health area. And that's another story of this amazing, as you mentioned today, like black, brown, Hispanic, all this amazing talent that 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 just don't have that support, that just get lost and misses opportunities that can really improve their lives. And when I mentioned about when I was in like being in therapy for 15 years, and the fact that she probably, Shakari Richardson, maybe she was not able to control her emotions because she didn't have that psychoanalytic therapeutical treatment before. She was not able, no one was able to help her, or no one brought her at the age of 10 to the psychiatrist to get treated for that problem in her life that probably was a broken family. So this is why is so important, because it's always our minorities, black, Hispanic, immigrants, all that we suffer from, all, and women, like we suffer from all these mental health consequences. And when we talk about representation, I never saw my mother represented in any superhero movie. Like I only saw white male in movies as the superheroes, Spider-Man, Superman, whatever, Batman. And it's like, what? Wait a minute, my superhero is a woman. And it's not Wonder Woman. It's a real woman. It's my mother. And I believe that grandmother of Shakari Richardson, she's also that superhero for her. And there's all these women that are superheroes, in like more than superheroes. They are like the best of the best of the best on the humanity, that get zero recognition in representation in the media, in the Hollywood films, and all these moms that are like single moms, in that have to deal with a full-time job and also with 4 kids, and they have to take care of the whole thing, and at the same time it's just like unfair for women that even they, that they're not being represented, and also for kids to don't see their super moms also represented in the media. And at the end, I believe that's why I have this mission, because there's a lot of work that needs to be done, and if we don't start talking about this right now, then who else is going to talk about this? Like, if I don't do it, who else? And I can expect someone else to do it if that's my duty. And of course, takes a village, a world. So I'm just one more piece, grain of sand. Like, I'm just one more person trying to help in this matter. But this is, we have it every day, examples of how the minorities, like black, brown, Latinos, we are basically victims of a system that is not allowing us to recover from big mental health, like from big traumas. And I think it needs awareness first, and that's why I'm bringing that into the music that I'm doing, and the Hispanic, and particularly I'm focusing in the Mexican community that nobody talks about. Like, we only talk about the immigrants that cross the river, and the wall that Trump built. But at the same time, we don't talk that in Mexico, let's say that 96 out of every 100 victims of domestic violence in Mexico are women. 96 of every 100 victims. And in Mexico, there's something that is called the femicide. And the femicide is defined as the World Health Organization as an intentional murder of women because they are just women, because they're just, and basically in Mexico, Amnesty International estimates that there have been around 34,000 female homicides in Mexico between 1986 and 2009, and only 8% of those femicides in Mexico are punished. So when you realize that that just this happening in my country where I was born and raised, it just feels like, now imagine other countries like Salvador, Guatemala, South America. It's just third world countries. It's just like broken, the whole thing, the whole system, the whole, and that's why when you mentioned the pandemic, it's been very important to address these issues. I think it's the beginning of a new direction, hopefully for more artists and more people there, because we have to do something to help women and kids and families. Hmm.
I think your mission is God focused and God, inspired. Um, I truly believe that your there's a level of enlightenment or consciousness or awareness that's
Mm.
going on now, especially within the last couple of years. It's been growing,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
that people are becoming more aware of what's going on in society, and
Hmm.
realizing that people of color have more value than society has put out there. And even the mention of countries that's considered third world, you know,
Yeah,
that's offensive in itself. When you look at some countries that are considered third world have values and morals that supersede some of these larger countries. Like,
hmm,
I've seen, where total strangers could take kids from one place to another without a kid being harmed. Because, you know what
exactly,
I mean?
exactly.
It's total strangers stopping to pick somebody up that may be walking to take them somewhere else. You know,
Yeah,
just because of being another human and seeing somebody walking and you have a vehicle, stop.
exactly.
That's just that doesn't. You know what I mean? Like, you don't have to be a developed country to lose your morals. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
You're in the U.S. and you like what? You can't
Yeah,
take somebody kids. Nobody would think about doing that. Women. Or to your point, objectifying women and treating them like a piece of meat. Like,
exactly.
as opposed to the creation of human life. Like,
Correct.
nobody get here.
Yes, I
Nobody
agree.
gets here without a woman. Like, I don't care.
Exactly.
What it is. You need one woman to get here, and then
Exactly.
God created her to do that.
Exactly.
And it's not a punishment. You know,
Exactly.
it's a birthright. and it's a beautiful thing that she gave her life. So I think just the definition and the way that we are viewing women today needs some type of focus and attention and reevaluation. The place that women should have in a household and in the world should be relish more. Heck, if you look at the pandemic, some of the countries that were run by women had the lowest
Exactly, exactly.
had the lowest death rate. I'm just saying, there's something that's tied to
Exactly,
the
exactly.
ingenuity of women, and so we have to give them the credit and give them and we have to protect that energy as male energy. We need to protect,
Yeah,
and it takes people like you that see that have those strong moms and have mothers that have been able to be examples to realize that women are very, very important. And the
exactly,
only reason that will be here in the human form is through a woman. So
exactly.
we definitely need to respect that. Um, Now, I want to touch base on God. We spoke
Yeah.
a little bit about it, man, and I hear it through everything that you say. But how important is God in your life, and um, what was the circumstances in which? I know you talked about your vision that you have with you, but is there what other manifestations that God has shown you in your life to make you want to
Hmm.
live that?
Yeah, that's a fantastic question. And thank you for asking that question because I know I know we sometimes feel afraid of I feel afraid sometimes of speaking out about my Christianity and my belief in my faith, and because particularly in this country when where there's a lot of like people that just want to question that faith and in many ways. So I appreciate immensely that you're asking this question because the way when I was testifying against my father in court, I remember that day as if it was yesterday. And I remember I was alone. They couldn't allow my mother to be there or anyone because they were thinking that they could influence my testimony. So I was by myself at the age of 6 with random like people dressed, these attorneys and the judge and everybody. It was in a cold environment. I don't know. I felt very lonely in that place, and that's where I want to tell you that God took care of me since that day, like since ever, of course. But that day is when I realized that my father was gone, but I earned a new father, the real one, and since then I remember even one day I was at the same age 6. My son right now is also 6 years old, so I have a lot of wow connection with that topic. So I was 6 and I was walking and we were doing a caravan or something we were doing like an event in the school, and I heard this voice saying, Alejandro. I said, wow. He said, you are here. It was just that, like that, very philosophical. You are here. And it's like, yes, I am here. Where were you before? And suddenly it's like, oh my goodness, I don't know. But you are here. You are alive. This is your chance. This is your life. And I'm here with you. Like, you are here. And that awareness of very simple question, but at the same time very deep and very philosophical, I realized like, oh my goodness, I am here. I'm existing. I'm alive, and I'm here. Like I don't know, like I arrived or something like that. And since then I've been feeling that voice always with me, and every single day, every single moment. And 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 sometimes when I was actually in Spain, when I heard about Berkeley College of Music, that voice told me, Alejandro, please repeat every single day this phrase. And the phrase it was like a mantra that I was repeating, that it said, it was like an affirmation. And I said, Alejandro, I am going to be someone before and after my graduation at Berkeley College of Music. So I was basically confirming and affirming at the age of 15 that Berkeley College of Music experience, it was already happening. It was a fact. It was like it was written. It was there. Even though it was super far from any idea, it's like you, for example, saying I want to go to the moon or something, and saying to you today to you, okay, I'm going to be someone else, and after I come back from the moon or something like that. Like I was basically affirming, confirming that was a reality. So I did that for 10 years. Every single day I said that phrase in my head. I don't know if a lot of people in your audience have the chance of repeating something for 10 years for that long and consistently. I'm sorry, but that self-discipline is what made the whole difference, and that trust. And I said, God, if this is real, show me. I want to follow you. I want to repeat those words. I want to pray. I want to read the Bible, and I want to follow your path, and I want to behave accordingly. I want to walk that narrow path that you talk about. But prove me that that's correct. And that happened, and suddenly a miracle happened, because actually when I was it was in 2010, and I was supposed to go to Berkeley in 2010, and I went there. I did my audition in Boston. I live in Boston, actually. I live across the street from Berkeley now. But I was basically there, and they told me, Alejandro, you're accepted, but with no scholarship. And for me, the fact that I was not getting a scholarship felt like, okay, I was not accepted. I felt like it's not going to happen, and because I needed a scholarship, it was too expensive, and my mother couldn't afford that, and then I said to God, and it was 2010, and I said, God, you asked me to follow you for for all this for 10 years, like I'm so close, and I can get the money to go to Berkeley. I'm still stuck here in Mexico, in Monterrey. What is next? Just show me the way. And something happened very tragic in Mexico, that the drug cartels start having a war in my city. So basically, they kidnapped one of my best friends from high school. They killed her. It was a very bad thing that they did, and then some of my friends got kidnapped and from the drug cartels, and very bad stuff was happening. Like they were killing people in the streets. Like it was like horrible, that war, and from the drug cartel in Mexico. And I knew that I needed to leave. I said, God, please save me. I need to leave. Like, please make it happen. And I'm praying. And at the end of December 2010, my mother saw my work, and she comes to me and almost crying and said, you're not going to believe it. She said, I've been working for these companies in the medical world for 10 years with no payment. And they decided today they told me today that they're going to pay me 10 years of work, and I'm going to get the money next week, and that can pay only one semester at Berkeley. Do you want to take it or no? And I was having a girlfriend at that time, and I was like, imagine, attached to my family, friends, everything. And I said, oh my goodness, this is it. Like, okay, I take it. Even if it's just one semester, I go. So it was like at the end of December, and by January 3rd, I was already in Boston of 2011. So it was like 2 weeks after that. And then I didn't know that was the last time I saw my girlfriend that time. I thought I was coming back. But actually, no, God had a different plan for me, a better plan for me. And when I arrived, everything was different. I never saw snow, and it was packed of snow. It was like cold. I didn't speak English very well. So I needed to learn how to speak English. I learned kind of how to communicate. My first friend was the woman that opened my bank account in Bank of America. And so I didn't have friends. I was like by myself here in Boston. And I was trusting God. God, you brought me here. And then in front of Berkeley was a church, and it's like, what? Exactly across the street from the 1140 building, in Boylston Street. And it's like, okay, oh my goodness, okay, I have to go and I say thank you to God for what is happening. So I started praying there every single day in this church, and I was raised Catholic. Roman Catholic. So that was a Roman Catholic church, and it was like, okay, amazing. It was I don't know, a miracle, but at the same time I was like more open to. I attended a lot of Christian, churches, and even Buddhist and different things, and I was there praying every day, and then I heard this voice to say, okay, now the temptation is coming. Now you have to behave according to your plans, to our plans. And the temptation came. As you know, I was 25 years old, college city, a lot of distractions you can imagine, and people taking drugs. I never saw people taking drugs in my life. I saw friends around me taking drugs, and deep drugs. I was like, wow, how can you do like, and really like mushrooms, cocaine, and stuff like that. And I was like, this is real. This is happening. So I had to stay in that narrow path. So I say, and I promised myself, I said, you know what? That's it. And I say, God, I don't want to have any more girlfriends in my life. I don't want to be distracted by that. I don't want to be distracted by the wrong friends. God, I want to give you a promise. I want to ask you for a favor. God, can you choose my wife? I just want to have my next relationship is going to be my wife. I'm not going to waste time with girlfriends. My next one is my wife, but I'm not going to choose it. You're going to choose it for me, I told him. And I'm going to be behaving accordingly. Like I'm going to be behaving as if I'm already married. So I'm going to be, so when I was going to parties and events, I was behaving as a married man. So I was not doing those one night stands and those, this kissing people randomly, like taking drugs. Right, I was behaving as a man, as a married person, and I didn't even know. I didn't have even a girlfriend. Like I was just behaving, and it took me 2 years of that. And I remember, and that's how I met my wife. I opened a club at Berkeley with another Christian friend from Fiji Islands, and it's called Ubuntu. That means family in Zulu, from South Africa, and Ubuntu also means I am because you are. And I knew that, oh my goodness, I'm in Boston. I'm with all this world, all these different countries, and I feel that all of them are my brothers. That means that I don't belong to Mexico. I belong to the world. I'm not only a Mexican. I'm a citizen, a world citizen. And the whole thing expanded in ways that I like. Wow, best friends like from Fiji, from Sudan, from Haiti, from Colombia, from Venezuela, from United States, from everywhere. And then I said, okay, this club started. I said I want to help motivate these students at Berkeley, so we can go walking that narrow path. And that's how I met my wife. She showed up to one of those meetings. She's from Italy, from Milan, and we helped not only it was not only for that relationship, because we started actually praying. That's how we met, praying. I brought her to pray with me. I said, I'm going to pray every day. Do you want to join me? And we started praying for years, and before we even actually we started praying, and that's one day she stand up in the middle of the church and she said, God, I love Alejandro. And that's how I knew that we were in love somehow. But it was always through prayers. It was always through God. My foundation with my family, my kids, everything's been always through God first. And I help, and you never know, as you mentioned, like share your story, save lives. Like I was sharing my story one day in those meetings, and one of my friends in the Ubuntu club, he was from Hungary. His name is Peter Benz, and he was a piano player that he was having issues he was very shy, and he didn't know how to make it in life, in music. He didn't know how to play jazz, but he was a very talented piano player. So I created this project with him about, like, Benze, I know you have a dream. I know maybe you don't see it right now, but I believe everything starts with an idea. So I start helping him and reminding him everything starts with an idea. Your dream is going to start with an idea. Just follow that idea. It's going to start with an idea. It's going to happen. So every day I was with him, sending him text messages, bringing him with friends, inviting him for lunch so he could have social life, like being next to him. Until 1 year after that work with him, he sent me an email with a link from a video link from Hungary. And he was playing piano in this huge, basically, stadium. And I was like, what is happening? And it was all these officers and referees, and it was strange. And suddenly someone started counting a count off, like 3, 2, 1. And then he started playing the piano super fast. And then after 1 minute, you see, boom, this logo from the World Record Guinness, that he broke the World Record Guinness of the fastest piano player in the world. So he's currently the fastest piano player in the world, actually. Can you believe that? Like, that's when, like, and it's like, what? That's just that, like when you when you're talking about share your life, share your story, save a life. That's an example of that. Like, I dedicated myself to invisibly, like I was helping him the way God was helping me, helping him to find that community, to find confidence, to find love, to find someone that cared for him, and that gave him, I believe, unconsciously maybe, gave him the strength to make that dream happen, and that idea. And he developed that idea at the same time, and now he's a super celebrity now. If you go to his YouTube channel, he has like 2 million followers. He has all these videos that are super virtuosistic. He tours the world. You can find him as Peter Benz, and he's a very good friend. He's a brother, and this is when you realize God really has a plan for you, and when you really follow God, when you choose to follow him and do his will. Like, it's not following him by saying, yes, I go to church and I follow him. No, that's not. I'm talking about following him, meaning like if he tells you, okay, you're not going to have a girlfriend, and because you're preparing for your wife. Like, how many men at the age of 25 will dare to say, I'm not going to date any girl, I'm not going to kiss any girl, I'm not going to do anything that is in the sexual world at all, because I'm getting ready for my wife. Like, I don't know anyone that I was able to do that, and I did it by myself, silently, and that's how I attracted my wife. And and it came, and it's the highest blessing ever. Like now I have two beautiful kids. I live in Boston. We speak three languages every day: Italian, Spanish, and English in my house. It's a global family, exactly the way I define myself as a world citizen. And I feel like, oh my goodness, how can I be like, I am someone before and after Berkeley. This is it. This is that experience, like that phrase that I did it for 10 years. I am someone before and after. This is my after Berkeley experience, like the life that I'm giving and I'm getting. And this is like, I can give up now. Like, this is now, I have to keep going. Like, this is, God has a mission. And the way I helped Ben Peter achieve the world record Guinness, how can, like, imagine I can help someone else. I believe I can help me and someone else and the world to be a better place and improve social living. So
Man,
yeah.
like you said, because I feel it, man, and I know for a fact that kids can benefit from your conversation, your education, and I think everybody that listens to this podcast will benefit from your discipline. One of the things that has run through and has been consistent in all of your messages and everything that you've shared really highlights your discipline.
Yeah.
It really does. Even your
Yeah.
spiritual discipline, your physical discipline, when you make your mind up to do something,
Yeah.
alignment with God gives you the ease and the strength to do it. And I think, a lot of
Amen.
people, and I know for myself, struggle in this area as it relates to discipline.
Yeah.
You may have the desire, you may have the want, but it's the discipline that's going to get you through. That's going to push you past when you don't feel like it. You know what I
Exactly.
mean?
Exactly.
It's the discipline and the commitment that's going to get you through. Like the days
Yes.
when it's cold and it's snowing, you don't want to get out your bed to go pray. You know what I mean? You don't want
Exactly.
that discipline that's going to keep pushing you to that next thing. So, I think that's instrumental in success and teaching kids this. One of the things I hear from this testimony that you share with me, man, is everything that you have done kind of reinforces that 6-year-old child, you know,
Hmm.
and when even that behavior, that time frame where you was lashing out, and I feel that part of it was because you couldn't protect your mom, from your dad.
Hmm.
You lashing out all that pent up anger, and you lashing out at somebody else from your age group. You know what I mean? You could
Hmm.
do that, but having that conversation with God, man, and giving you some type of direction, and just being sensitive enough to realize His presence,
Yeah.
speaks volumes that you
Yeah.
were in tune with yourself at such a young age, and it stayed with you. That you consciously didn't, use outlining drugs or other things that kept you from understanding your relationship with God, and it allows you your clarity allows you to go even harder with God and trust Him even more because you
Yeah.
sidestepped and influenced by other numbing agents, whether it's any type of drugs or alcoholism. So to me, that life is a reflection and a testimony of God's grace and what
Yeah.
God can do. And so I'm thankful to have listened and been able to share time and space with you today. And I know my listeners have benefited from your testimony and your experience. Um, could you share with our listeners at least one thing, one word of wisdom if you had to leave them with anything, and make sure that you give an opportunity to share your social media handles and some of the projects that you're working on.
Yes, absolutely. So I think one of the things that I would love to share to your audience is that concept of self-discipline and self-respect. So self-discipline, the way I see it, is like means for me being you are your I see it as a self-disciple. So basically you are a disciple of yourself. So self-discipline means that you are following yourself. And that connects too much with the concept of self-respect. It's until you start respecting yourself that your life and your world is going to change. Every single relationship that you have in the world is connected to the relationship you have first with yourself. So your relationship with yourself will determine the relationship you're going to have in your life. So if you're not having what you want, if you're having and I'm talking about like women with the wrong men, or men with the wrong women, or a conflict friendship, or like friends that are hating each other, or family members that are not happening, it's because there's something going on that is responsible, like you are responsible in so many ways about like those type of friendships. And that all starts with you being your own disciple, your self disciple. And how you can be your own disciple if you don't trust yourself as your master? Like, and that's the trust for me, that's faith. That's what faith means for me. Like that master is, at the end, is that your connection with God. And and at the end is because we are not trusting us, that we start abusing ourselves. We're the first people abusing with our thoughts, with our actions, overeating, or not doing exercise, or as you mentioned, not being disciplined, or being violent with ourselves, being violent with the people that we love. At the end, all the violence first affects us. And all starts from that concept of the lack of self-respect, and the lack of respect for you trusting your own, you as a master. So self-discipline comes from being your self-disciple. So being your own disciple, yeah, like you are the disciple of your own philosophy. And that's what happens. We don't respect ourselves, and that's the origin. And I that's why. This connects very well with my first music single. My first music single is called Self-Respect. And the show that I'm preparing right now is a live show. It's going to call also Self-Respect, because I believe that through self-respect we can eliminate violence against women. We can eliminate domestic violence. We can eliminate a lot of wrong things that are happening in this world through your self-respect, and having just one person in your family, just one, showing you how it is to respect yourself, like just showing you like how is like. And that person was my mother. She was showing me how to respect herself. She didn't hang out with, she committed to us. She didn't start, like, she didn't hang out with other guys or start marrying other people. Like, she decided to commit to that discipline, to trust herself and follow that through discipline. And that's why for me it's important. Just one person can make the whole difference. That's why Jesus, one, made the whole impacted the whole humanity forever. One is enough to make a big difference. You don't need a full army. One person can change the world. And Jesus is an example of that. And I believe that starts with you, by following, you being the disciple of yourself. And in order to you be the disciple of yourself, you first have to respect yourself, love yourself, trust yourself, and also believe that what you're doing is okay. Like like you have to follow that, follow yourself, and that's what I would love to tell to your audience, because I think this is that's that foundation of everything. And I believe that even though I still have struggles with self-discipline and stuff like that, what I have very clear is that if I if I hurt myself, and that could be through doing something against myself, harm, like I can, through addictions. That's why people, drinking, drugs, pornography, be any other type of like addictions that are against, that are harming you, overeating, or eating bad food, or stuff like that, or watching the wrong, like stuff that are violence, or I don't know, like whatever that is going to against you. I know that's not going to be the way for success. That's not the way. And that's why Jesus was very clear about the narrow path. And it's true. If you follow Jesus, if you follow his instructions, you survive. Like you survive from all temptations, and it's very hard to follow it. But when you start loving yourself and understanding that you are the first person in this earth that deserves your love, is when you realize, like, okay, if I don't do it to myself, why have to do it to someone else? And that's how you stop being violent with other people and harming your wife, or punching your kids and stuff like that. So that's what I would love to share: the power of self-respect, self-discipline, and the power of being your own disciple. And in terms of social media, so you can find me as Jandro Cisneros everywhere. In YouTube, you can find my videos in Jandro Cisneros. My music is in Spotify, iTunes, Deezer, Pandora, everywhere, as Jandro Cisneros. I also, I read every message. So if you want to send me a message through any platform in social media. I read everything. I respond to everything. So I am very, very connected to everyone. So I just send me an email, send me or a message in Messenger or whatever, and I'm happy to get in contact with you and help you, or to have a conversation. So it's just, that's how I do things. And I hope these stories can get into your audience, and I hope your audience can at least reflect on these topics that we're talking today, and understand that the most important person is you in this world. That's the origin of everything, and it's very important that you take care of yourself, because there's no one police officer that can go inside your brain and tell your aggressive thoughts, your violent thoughts, your self-destructive thoughts to stop. There's no one. There's no one president in this country, no one politician, there's no one teacher, not even your own girlfriend or your wife or anyone in the world that can go inside your brain and stop your self-abusive relationship with yourself, or that horrible relationship that you can have. No one. So you are so important in your life. You're the only one that can stop that, the only one that can take care of that. That's why Buddha, with meditation and mindfulness, it came with all this. And Jesus, like, they came to solve that. We need medicine for the brain, for them, for that. And that's what I want to give to your audience.
Man, it's been amazing, sir. Thank you so very much for spending some moments with us, sharing your space, sharing your time. You said something so profound where you look at everyone who's been successful, Jesus, Buddha, Muhammad, all of these people took time alone to do some self-reflection, to get their
Exactly.
thinking right, there to realize what they needed to work on, and how they focused themselves. You have to take care of yourself.
Exactly.
Body is your temple. This is how you communicate with the one and with source. So it's important that you get in tune, tap in. And like you said earlier, this stood out for me. Like, you are the first person that deserves your love. Like,
Exactly.
that to me stood out to me. It's like, you have to love yourself. We've heard the term, love yourself and self-love, but when you said you are the first person that deserves your love, to me,
Exactly.
you deserve it, and we all do. And like you said, the abuse starts in our mind, and we have to clear and think differently about ourselves so that we can act differently. So
Amen.
thank you, thank you, man. This was amazing. Thank you for spending some time with me. Tell the family I said thank you for allowing me to share your time and space. Keep doing your thing. Make sure you download his music, his album. Support this man. He's a social activist. He's out here sharing, changing the world through music. We need
Thank you.
to support that. So
Thank you.
make sure you download it, man. Alejandro, thank you for your time. Peace.
Thank you, Demetrius. Thank you for your space. Amazing job. Everything you're doing is fantastic. Thank you for creating these conversations and building this conversation. This is the path for change. So thank you for giving us this platform.
Thank you, right, man. Until the next time, brother.
Yes, absolutely.
Life Journey Podcast is sponsored by Akili Flow. Akili Flow is a culturally centered coaching organization that uses meditation and comedic yoga